One of the greatest tools we have when making presentations is PowerPoint. When used properly, PowerPoint can be a powerful tool. And I'm going to give you some tips this evening to help you make your presentations powerful and not overpowering. People like to give do's and don'ts. I like to start with the don'ts because to me, the don'ts are more crucial. A slide should not have more than some bullet points on it. You don't want to put an entire story on one slide. I was at a meeting once where the speaker had an entire story on her slides. To give her credit, she split it up between two slides, but still, it was a lot of information. When you have that many words on a slide, your audience is going to be trying to read the slide instead of paying attention to you, the speaker. And then she read the slides, she read the story. It's on the screen, we can read it. There are exceptions to this. For example, I was recently at a briefing for contest judges. The chief judge went over the rules. He had the rules on the slides and he read them word for word. Something crucial, such as rules for judging a contest, it helps for people to get the information both visually and orally. But other than a few other exceptions, you don't have to read the screen. Your audience can read. The slides are there to enhance your presentation, not to be your presentation. That same speaker with the story on the slides, this was back in the days when we used to meet in person. The room we used had the connection to the projector way over there, way behind where you, the audience, are sitting. The screen was back there. She turned around to read the screen. You don't want to turn around. You don't want to turn your back to the audience. These days with Zoom, it's very easy. You want to read what's on your slide, you just look down and then you can look back up at the camera. If you're in an auditorium, frequently the computer will be right in front of you. So you can still see what's on the screen without having to turn around. In a situation such as the one we had with the computer way at the other end of the room, you can easily just stand to the side so you can look at the screen sideways and not turn your back to the audience. That covers the don'ts. Let's look at the do's. A good rule of thumb is to make your presentation, create your presentation in PowerPoint several days before you're going to deliver your speech. And then let it sit. A day or two later, look at it again. With fresh eyes, you might see some typos. And then go over it one more time the day of your speech. I break this rule all the time. I use PowerPoint when I teach, and I frequently create my PowerPoints shortly before the lesson. And I can't tell you how many times in the middle of a lesson, I see typos on the screen. I see things on the screen that aren't supposed to be there or that show up at the wrong time. And it's embarrassing. Please learn from my good habits. Do not learn from my bad habits. Always prepare in advance and check and double check. Many years ago, a position opened up at my company and I wanted that position. Part of the application process was to create a PowerPoint presentation. I had never used PowerPoint before, but I created a presentation and it was beautiful and I really liked it and I was so intrigued by all the things I could do on PowerPoint. And once I had it finished, I saved it, I emailed it to the woman in charge, and then the day that I had to present it, I showed up with my flash drive, plugged it into her computer. She had a different version of PowerPoint than I had. None of my animations worked. It was a disaster. Needless to say, I did not get that position. If you are going to do anything more than basic slides with basic fonts, make sure you use your computer and do not count on another computer being the same as yours. I can't tell you how many times I go to meetings and I see something like this on the screen. We don't want to see the thumbnails on the left side of the screen. We want to see the slides as they are supposed to be presented, not as they are supposed to be edited. So make sure you are in slideshow mode, not edit mode. And now I want to give you some helpful tips. One of my favorites is to use pictures. And there's a good way to add pictures. This is not a picture you want to use the way it is. And before I go on, I want to mention that you should not take pictures off the internet. Try to use your own pictures. This is a photograph I took. I don't even remember when I took it, but I saw this dog. It was very cute, so I took its picture. But a picture like this, no, this is not how you want it to appear. The first thing I want to do is get rid of all the extraneous area around that dog. So I click on the picture and go into picture format. And there I am given a crop tool. And when I click on that crop tool, it will give me all these different handles that will allow me to move the edges of the picture. So I end up with something like this. Once I have that, I can have the picture any size I want because I still want to work with it. I want the dog. I don't want the paving bricks. So how do I get rid of them? Still in picture format, over on the upper left corner, I click on remove background. And that's going to give me something that looks like this. Everything that is magenta is going to be removed. Everything that's not magenta will stay. So as you can see, the whole background has been turned magenta. But if you look, there are a couple magenta spots on the dog's snout. There's a spot on his paw. And then there are some spots of paving bricks that are not magenta. So what do? We use, over on the upper left corner, the background removal tool. With the green pen, you will fill in the spots that are magenta that you don't want to be magenta, the places you want to keep. And with the red pen, you will fill in the places that you want to get rid of that aren't already magenta. And you will end up with something like this, which you can then make any size you want and place it anywhere you want on the slide. And it will make your presentation a little more interesting to look at than just a lot of words. Remember that presentation I told you about? The one that was a disaster because the computers weren't compatible? I was so intrigued with all the animations. I used a lot of them. Don't. Nobody wants to see that. Use them sparingly. You saw that I used previously some circles to show you certain points on the slide and some squares, but nothing overwhelming, such as this slide. Animations are the spice of your presentation. They should be there to enhance, not to overpower. And finally, if you have a question, Google it. I can't tell you how much I've learned just from asking my friend Google. And if you still have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.